All right. Everybody in the building, you know what time it is. It's the Tuesday night AMA. Your boy was almost going to be late tonight, but we got special guest Matty motherfucking Kiwoom on, and there is no way I was going to be late for this. If y'all don't know who Matty is, you obviously ain't paying attention or you didn't come to the expo because we tore it up. Not only is Matty a dope content creator, an absolute dope content creator, but he's even a better human and a better friend to us. So welcome in, my guy. What is going on, Matty Kiwoom?
Hey, yo, boys! I am beyond excited to be on the South Harmon Tuesday AMA. You guys have been absolutely building a mother effing empire out here, and I'd love to see it because you know what? You guys are fantastic content creators, but after kicking it with you, after talking with you now for some months, almost a year, you boys are, salt of the earth people. I love you guys.
The love goes both ways, man. We appreciate Matty coming on. We were talking about it as the music's coming on. Like we needed to have Matty on, so I'm glad we got you on here today. And so Tuesday excited. AMA is lit. What's going on, everybody? Shane's in the building. Dynasty Alex is in the building. Marlon's in the building. Our boy Ty's in the building. Jay Ellis, what's good? We got our boy JB. We got a bunch of people. Marlon says hit the like button if you could. Go ahead and drop that for us. Nicholas says, what's up? Mike, you got anything you want to get to before we start diving into some questions and some topics to talk about, man?
Let's hit it, man. I'm so happy to have Matty on, but we do got to talk about some sad news because it has been a devastating fucking week in fantasy football.
Mike, how many weeks
have taken so much from us in such a short time?
How many weeks have we not said that, though? Like, this season feels like it's just, like, they're coming for us. Matty, they're coming for us.
It's crazy. It's like you're walking on eggshells every single week when you go in on your waiver wire pickups on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever your thing clears, and you're like, I'm not dealing with a whole lot. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're dealing with everything.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Injury, this, that, other thing.
Adam, I'm in a predicament in a lot of leagues, like a lot of my contenders. Cooper Kupp was the god
Absolutely.
at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Sneaky athletic, hard worker, first in,
Gym
last
rat.
out kind of guy. Yeah, bring your own lunch pail, real coach's kid, just carrying my teams. and from the analytical standpoint, we've dove into it before, but a high warp guy.
Mm-hmm.
Adam,
extremely high.
I can't make these deals. I can't. I don't have him in lineup leagues, so it's a different story. But even in best ball leagues, I'm trying to get 3 dudes. And nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. And on the flip side, man, I thought, okay, well, maybe as a seller, people know I'm in a bind. They don't want to buy, don't want to bail me out. I've gone to people who are contenders on my rebuilders. I'll buy into Cooper Kupp. He's 29. I'll do the whole DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to have another year or two, and it's Cooper Kupp. He'll be back next year. The Rams offense hopefully is a little bit better, probably without Sean McVay, but Matt Stafford will still be there, etc. Nope, nobody wants him. Nope, nobody wants to sell him. Nobody wants to buy him. So we just stuck with this dude?
Well,
we just going to ride this dude out?
Well, here's the thing. You're stuck with him unless you're really willing to get into the grit. Because we talked about this when we had Scott on the trade show. Mike, I don't know if you remember, we did featured a trade on the trade show with Scott where
Scott nailed it, man.
It was 24 first, 25 first, and Rondale Moore. But we all kind of agreed, and he talked about it, how he's the most fascinating asset in Dynasty, or one of them, because he's so good on the warp side, but everything points to the cliff. Mike, that was while he's playing and smashing, right? Yeah. So we knew he was going to cliff before he gets a high ankle sprain. So this whole offense, keep this in mind, this whole offense has been one of the most disappointing in the whole NFL. So you got an offense that's bad. Matthew Stafford, I don't know. I'd have to imagine it's 60-70% of his yards are Cooper Kupp. So what is there to get excited for moving forward? Because, I mean, are you going to bank on him just being this good for this long for forever? You already were pushing the envelope with age with people. So his value was already kind of just insanely inflated because of points per game, and now you have the crater. It's happened, and we at the worst time, man, because high ankles normally they don't go well even when they do come back for the rest of the year, and this wasn't a highly athletic guy to begin with. So I don't know, Mike and Matty, got any other points on here with Cooper Kupp, man?
The thing
Matty,
about
take
Cooper,
it away, man. What are you doing? What are you doing with him?
It feels like this is a case study in like your preseason narratives, where we all heard the buzz, sell Kupp now. There's regression coming. There's no way he's going to eclipse the marks he did in 2021. So sell. People who were like, nah, I'm not going to do that. He's too good. We're proven correct for some time. But what now we've accumulated over these 10 weeks is we've seen the Rams fall down as an offense, like you mentioned, Adam. You're hearing the narrative that McVay is, I mean, it sounds like he's almost 1 foot out the door. Once his core leaves, he's out.
It feels
so
like
people
that,
are nervous there. Kupp is 30 years old. So now you're seeing like a glimpse of the future post McVay, post Stafford. So it's just causing this like this whole like shitstorm of people buying into these negative narratives and just throwing out all the good he's done for a year and a half. And it's tough to sell. Like you said, if you're trying to sell to a buy, like someone who's contending, they don't want to wait on someone who's high ankle sprained out for 4 weeks on the IR. And on the sell side, they don't want a 30-year-old going into next year not exactly knowing what it's gonna be like in LA. So It's like this whole thing of maybe he is the perfect case of being aggressively early so that you're not screwed late.
Yep. I think that's a very good point. And you know, with the thumbnail, Mike, I don't know if you had something you want to get to before I kind of switch gears, but it's still all in the same topic here for me with Cooper Kupp and these injuries, Jerry Jeudy and stuff.
It is specifically with Kupp because he was by far and away the most valuable piece that we lost this weekend. Like it's almost impossible to replace him. Like it really doesn't matter what you're going to go out and get. Like to get Cooper Kupp production in your lineup just to fill that slot,
right,
is almost impossible. Right? There's only a handful of dudes who can do it, and the ones who are like Justin Jefferson, their price is astronomical because he's not 30 years old. He's not.
Right.
And people look at him and go like, he's going to be Cooper Kupp for the next 10 years. Why the fuck would I give him up? And rightfully so. I just think it's a very interesting case for me where like I have a lot of spots to sell him in. And when I'm getting instant rejected, not even counters, and I'm not asking for the world. Like I'm not going down to like, give me Michael Pittman. Give me like, no, fuck that. I'm going like, give me Brandon Ayuk or give me a Devontae Smith and like some turd to throw in my best ball lineup. They're instant rejects. But then I'm thinking, like I told you guys, like on the other side, I'm going, okay, well, obviously if no one wants to buy him, maybe it's so far shifted to the other side. Let me send out some offers that include like in best ball leagues, like Rondale Moore, a quarterback, and like a running back who's playing like Wilson or Mostert or, you know, one of these guys. Let me give you 3 pieces because I'm not competing. These dudes are just going to die on my fucking team, and see if I can help you replace some of that production of Cooper Kupp, like lessen the blow, because he's going to do nothing for you probably for the rest of the year. Like if he's out for 4 weeks on IR, their season's fucked. Like there's really no reason to bring him back. They just probably just shelve him for the rest of the season. But I sent out those offers and it's the same thing. It's like crickets. Instant rejects, no counters. I can't do that. I can't sell that low on them. So I just think right now, at least in the immediate, Adam, and maybe people are taking time to kind of get their bearings together to kind of figure out exactly what they want to do. It just feels like you're stuck in the middle with Cooper Kupp. You can't sell him. And if you wanted to buy him, if you want to take that chance on him like a DeAndre Hopkins type or, you know, a later Julio Jones, not now Julio, not the last 2 years Julio, but, you know, 30-year-old Julio where you're still getting good production, it feels like you can't do anything. Feels like you can't do anything because I'm not just going to sell him off for like, I'll give you Cooper Kupp for Paris Campbell. Well, fuck that shit.
Well, that's the thing.
Good, man.
You gotta. Here's the thing, right? I think we have to admit that the reality is his value really dips because of the age and him already cliffing. His value was extremely elevated for where it was truly relative to Dynasty and age and stuff. So he's now in a gross territory. I think, honestly, if you're wanting to get off of him, your range is going to be more like guys, and you can't go for the sexy younger guys, right? Like, no one's going to give you Javonte Smith. No one's going to give you those guys that are young. Even Rondale Moore, he's young and exciting, you know? Mm-hmm. You got to get to, like, Jacoby Myers. Like, you got to go to names that ain't sexy but do give you points in your lineup. And I think that's a type guy that you can maybe swing for. Tyler Lockett, maybe. Like, you got to go for more of an age name it's not going to – here's the reality. What you're going to go for is a guy that's not going to give you the points per game that Cooper Kupp did, and he's not going to also give you this youthful allure. But you're hoping that the rest of your team can kind of catapult themselves and – you're going to be okay with a Myers or one of those other guys. But I did want to talk quickly about Christian Kirk because – and then we're going to get to questions. With Christian Kirk, man, I think this is a guy that's just – he may not be good for Cooper Kupp because his value's fallen so far. But I think I've said this from week 4. I actually did an article in the newsletter. If you haven't, go check out the newsletter, Destination Devy, free 99. How he's a guy based on WARP that you can tier down to pretty easily. Like, you go to Keep Trade Cut today. The dude is wide receiver 22. This is wide receiver 7 on the season.
Yep.
This is a good prospect profile. This is a guy that's paid highly. This is a guy that now, the last 2 weeks, it has spiked. There's only 3 receivers that have spiked the last 2 weeks. One of them's Justin Jefferson. One of them's Christian Kirk. Now, when you talk about the injury, the way this ties together is this. I don't know that you can do it now because people are starting to catch on because it's 2 spike weeks. But, like, with him, I've been saying for a while, if you can tier down to Christian Kirk from some of the top 10 guys, not necessarily Jefferson or Chase, but even Chase is an example where he gets hurt, right? So if you go down and you tier down, you get a first in Christian Kirk. You might even feel that's light for a guy like A.J. Brown. Now, guess what? A.J. Brown, he may not miss a bunch of time, but he had a horrible game last week because of injury, right? That was just yesterday. Christian Kirk, even if he gets hurt, you now have the liquid first, which you can buy something. Like Cooper Kupp, we're talking about this right now, right? Cooper Kupp lost. You have nothing left. Even if Christian Kirk gets hurt, you could probably still sell him for something because he's young, and then you have a first, which certainly can buy you something. I think that's something that we don't think about enough, and that's the injury de-risking that you get when you tier down as well. But Christian Kirk, man, I mean, this is a guy that has wide receiver 4 last week, wide receiver 5 2 weeks ago. Wide receiver 14, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 18 to start off the season. I mean, this guy has 7 consistent weeks and 2 spikes. He's not valued anywhere near that.
Right.
I feel that, man. Quickly, before we get to these questions, I just wanted to touch on a few others. Juju, definitely coming on strong. I was doing all the victory laps, much to Adam's chagrin, about how much I love Juju. It hurts his soul that I keep pulling him up on the recap every week. We didn't get to pull him up this time because that concussion was pretty scary. Yep. I do think for Juju, though, like in a couple weeks, he'll be back and pick right back up where he left off. Like, your fantasy playoffs are probably fine. Dallas Goedert, man, that sucked. We lost another fucking tight end last night. Some horse shit, too. Face mask that should have been called. Damn it. Fucking refs.
Dallas Goedert.
But I don't think that affects Dallas Goedert too much. Like, he was coming on strong where he was in the tight end landscape, and it's such a dumpster fire. Like, I think his value's fine. So if anybody's, like, giving him a dip, that's a guy that I would like to go out and try to acquire. Zach Ertz. Let me ask you, too, real quick. Your opinions. Matty, I'll start with you on Zach Ertz for Dynasty. Wrong side of 30 and a major knee injury. Like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he's just nothing now. Like, whatever you can get for Zach Ertz.
If you even can at this point. He was one of those pieces that was so fragile in his value because he was getting volume past the age where people thought he was valuable. His last stint in Philly, as well as anyone, Mike, that people kind of undervalued a guy that was a perennial top 5 tight end option.
Yep.
And he goes to Arizona, and it was like he didn't skip a beat. But now it's like you're going to hear all these narratives, and it could very well come true. You're going to have Hollywood Brown next year. You're going to have D-Hop next year. You just drafted Trey McBride. Yep. So there's seemingly his replacement right there. So his value will not go up until he catches a touchdown next year. So at this point, you might as well let go because you could get back into Zach Ertz basically at the same price that he is right now, all the way up until probably week 1 next year.
I like that a lot, man. Like, really, if I can get a third, a fourth, a fucking Foster Moreau, insert
Foster Moreau's a great target. That's a great
Juwan
idea.
Johnson. Like I don't give a shit who, just give me something. And like you're 100% right. Like when you see Zach Ertz back on the field and you get the confirmation that, man, he's moving well. I like the way he's doing it. Maybe the catches haven't really come yet. You can still buy back into Zach Ertz next year at this time and go boom. Like I'm picking back up where I left off. So I do love that move. Adam, your thoughts on Zach Ertz?
Yeah, I'm fully aboard. Matty touched a lot of the stuff that I wanted to get to, and honestly, to me, the thing is, right, Trey McBride will be very interesting for me because, you know, tight ends take longer to develop, but when you're drafted behind a guy like Zach Ertz, that we saw how long he kept, speaking of Dallas Goedert, how long he kept him from really breaking out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Trey McBride as a rookie was, whether you wanted to believe it or not, was more of a stash play, right? And he was being drafted in that second round, where essentially you're drafting him as a hold because he's gonna lose and bleed value. But now this situation really opens it up for him because that's a team that really doesn't have a ton of pass catching options now that he's gone, right? Rondale's been coming on. You got Hopkins. We'll see what happens when Hollywood comes back. But Trey McBride may be thrust into a role where, here's the thing, if Trey McBride takes a step forward and has a decent back half of the year, the Zach Ertz fall is only going to get further because what happens, the guy they just drafted capital, you know, used a second-round pick on that they want to be their future is already happening now. That's where it gets scary, I think, even more so for Zach Ertz. Not to mention he's old coming off that knee where who knows how he recovers and when he's back. This is an injury that happens in week 10. I mean, there's a lot of things. Zach Ertz, I think, is value-wise is a wrap. It's hard to predict the future, but value-wise is a wrap. I want to start getting some questions here. So Marlon says, since I lost Kupp, I'm a contender. I have the potential 23 101. Ooh, should I trade my 101 for a wide receiver in the Dynasty lineup league, like a Waddle? Mike and Matty, what do you guys think?
I mean, when you say 101, you're talking about Bijan. So you're talking about Saquon, Todd Gurley. You're talking about the creme de la creme. So it's tough. But I am in the sound mind. If you're competing, do it. Do it. You don't get these opportunities every year to contend. And if you get a guy like a Waddle, it's not Davante Adams, let's say. You're not getting a 30-year-old stud. You're getting someone who's going into his peak, who's going to be surrounded by the same weapons for a couple of years in terms of, you know, Tyreek Hill and Tua. All these things are going to continue to flourish theoretically. So I think I'm in on it, but it's got to be one of those. I'm not creeping into like I said, D Adams. I'm not getting older, and I'm also not. I'm going to play hardball because if you're talking Bijan mustard, you're talking some goodies, boy.
I like that. Yeah. Mike, where are you at, man? Because I think this is about the sweet spot where...
Listen, man, this hurts my soul because old me would have looked at you and said, like,
Fuck
101 off. Bijan for a wide receiver? Fuck out of here.
Never.
Never. RBs till I die, son. And now it's like, you know what? If I look at the way the landscape is right now, as much as we talk of Bijan or whoever the 101, like whoever jumps into that conversation.
Right.
Adam, I can tell you this for pretty much a fact. Waddle continues without injury, nothing bad, play doesn't fall off, which is very likely for the rest of the year, the way this offense is looking.
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you Jalen Waddle and whoever the 101 is going to be within a handful of spots in a startup. Within a handful of spots.
Great point. That's
so
a great point.
So if I look at this right now and I'm going, I just lost Kupp. Waddle is not Kupp, but he's pretty fucking close as far as points per game and warp would go.
Well, yeah, I agree with you.
I'm doing it. Here's if this is a deal that's on the table, like somebody would do it, yeah, I'd do it.
I think there is a pretty slim amount of receivers I'd do it for, but he's in that tier. Right now, Keep Trade Cut has him at 3. They have him at 10th overall in Superflex. The thing is right now, when you take warp into consideration here, I think this is actually key. Go look at the warp data. Koopa Troopa, if you're in here with us, man, I think he is. If we could get updated warp data this week at some point, because here's what I would like to say is that when you talk about warp, Cooper Kupp is so far and away on the warp when I last saw it. When you take him out of it now, what happens? Waddle's probably in the mix for the guy that's actually winning you a league now because Cooper Kupp's not doing that. So you're getting league-winning type points in your lineup, right? You're getting a youthful asset that unless there's an injury, is flourishing and doesn't appear to be going anywhere in dynasty value. And this time next year, Waddle is someone you can absolutely trade for a haul still. So because he's youthful, because he probably is very high in warp, and because it's an asset that everybody wants, those are the type I think you have to make sure you're getting if you're trading away the 101. The thing you don't want to do when you trade away the 101 is kind of like what Matty said earlier. Don't go to the Davante Adams. Don't go get a piece that's going to really cliff later. You want a piece that's going to help you win and is young, that's not going to depreciate in value quickly. So I'm 100% with Matty and Mike here on this one. That's growth, man. We would have never preseason never would have admitted that, man. Never.
We had one last thing to Marlon, buddy. Listen, you make this trade, you win your championship. Show up at your draft a little buzzed. It'll hurt a lot less when you see Bijan come off the board with your former pick. If you got a ship, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you don't give a shit then. You don't give a shit then. There's a handful of receivers, and we got to talk a little bit about one that we didn't get to on the recap show, Adam, that people requested.
Okay.
And that was CeeDee Lamb's
He was almost the thumbnail, man. It was between him and Kirk. So
that massive CeeDee Lamb game. I think he just stood up and made everybody remember why he's so fucking good, man. He's so good. And say what you will about Dak Prescott, like there's a lot worse situations you could be tied to at quarterback than Dak Prescott, right? We dunk on Kirk Cousins all we want, and all he's done is made Justin Jefferson the far and away wide receiver one at this point. Right?
Yeah.
JJ out there putting people on highlight reels left and right, having monster games. So
best catch I've ever seen. Best catch I've ever seen.
That was the best catch I've ever seen. I completely agree.
Yeah, fuck y'all both. That was the second best catch I ever seen.
To who?
OBJ, baby.
Oh,
OBJ
man.
Still gonna take
He did that, but he ripped it from a defender's hands.
OBJ's is still nasty, but the fact that it's on 4th and 18, the fact that the game's on the line, and the fact that there's another player that has two hands on the ball and you get it with one, that's where the needle moves to him for me. But I'm not gonna fight you and act like OBJ's catch wasn't phenomenal. Like it's totally opinion. Those are both phenomenal catches.
The things that I think make OBJ's catch better was he got pass interference on the play.
True.
The motherfucker fouled him.
Fair.
And it was a touchdown. That's
and he
it.
caught it like
and
this.
If we want to go situation, if that factors in, then we can't disrespect my guy David Tyree, man. Helmet catch in the Super Bowl game on the line. You can't get any bigger than
I would say David.
No, we will not talk about David Tyree.
David Tyree is the best Super Bowl catch of all time.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about. What Super Bowl was that? That must have been in the 30s? I don't remember this time.
Yeah, in general, though, like to Marlon's point about his question, like I would do that for Jefferson. No one's going to do it for Jefferson. I would do it for Chase. I don't think anyone's going to do it for Chase. But CeeDee Lamb needs to be in that conversation of guys
Absolutely.
I definitely would do it for. Jalen Waddle for sure. And up until last night, like AJ Brown was that dude, but now we're kind of seeing like, shit, man. We do have these conversations about these fucking injuries that always pop up with AJ Brown. Like it just seems every year there's something, and it just drives you mad because you've seen him explode for monster games, but you just have to deal with this injury risk that just seems to accompany AJ Brown.
I fully agree. That was part of what I baked in when I said go tier down to Christian Kirk. That's not going to happen now. But here's what I will say. Before we pivot off of like the CeeDee Lamb talk, Delusional Tanner asked, is he in our top 5? It's a tough top 5, but Matty and Mike, where are you at?
Been there.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson for me, tier break. Jamar Chase, tier break. Like they're not very big tier breaks, but they're tier breaks.
So that's 2.
And then I'm looking at Waddle, Lamb, AJ Brown, and my guy T. Higgins is still going to be in that conversation.
Yeah, I think for me the top 5 are the first 5 you mentioned. So it's going to be Jefferson 1, Chase 2, and then kind of in a blend from 3 to 5 of Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb, and AJ Brown because of the youth. That's the top 5 for me. And then right on the back of those guys, as much as I still like T. Higgins, he's in this tier for me where it's now T. Higgins because of the youth and what he provides still as a points per game scorer, but Tyreek Hill types, Stephon Diggs types, because they're so good on the warp side. Matty?
That's very fair.
I don't really have much pushback there. I mean, I think it's if you want to argue he's 3, you're not going to get a lot of fighting from me. If you say he's 5, it's just I think it's safe to say it's JJ, Chase, and then Lamb, Higgins, Waddle, and then like you said, the Tyreek Hills and the Stephon Diggs can't be forgotten.
Yep. And interestingly enough, keep trade cut, one of my favorite things is just to keep the pulse. They actually have him as wide receiver 7, so it's not a crazy question, Delusional Tanner.
No. Damn.
Yeah.
Keep trade cut out here clowning.
Yeah, man.
But they also have JT at RB6. So,
Dr. B. Harris, I wanted to not skip your question. Good evening, my guys. What's up, man? Talk about Christian Watson value this week and what you're doing with him. He is on the block. He is somebody I want to move, not for cheap, but I think if I can move him, where are you? What are you looking to get back for Christian Watson right now, Mike?
I'm only selling Christian Watson if I can re-roll into an early second next year in Superflex leagues.
But that's okay. That's my point. I'm not selling for a mid-second.
No, fuck out of here.
I want a top 3. I don't think you're gonna get a first. Well, if you can get a first, he is fucking gone. Yes,
yeah,
gone.
I'll sell Christian Watson for a first, but he's really in that range. Like I talk about these guys a lot, the fuck around and find out scale. And for a mid-second, I'm gonna fuck around and find out if Christian Watson's any good.
Yeah, if I'm getting a mid or late second,
if he's any good.
If they're only coming with a mid or late second, they better be coming with another second or a plus of some sort. I'm willing to move them for a top 2-3 protected early second or a first. Matty, what do you think?
I completely agree on the pick side of things, but on the player side of things, let's say you're a contender and you do want to sell high. Like I think a guy like a Cortland Sutton or a Tyler Lockett, I think those guys are perfectly within range right now to just shoot for the moon. This guy's coming off a monster game against the Cowboys. Somebody that's been well hyped. He's got the athletic profile, and Aaron Rodgers has been starving for. I think there's a chance you can jump way up. Like for instance, here's an example. If I have my Christian Watson and I'm looking at I'm top 3 in my league, I'm looking good to go. He's probably been on my bench most often, given his injuries and this. All of a sudden, the Juju Smith-Schuster team builder is down on him. Boom, that's a switch I'm making in a heartbeat. But in terms of picks, I'd take a second because there's so much uncertainty surrounding not only him but the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
they've been. I mean, we can't forget that they've played. That was a good win on Sunday against the boys, but they've had some. What was it 4 absolute crap fests in a row? They could go right back to that, and I don't think Watson is untouchable by any means. He had 3 touchdowns on 4 catches, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, yeah, it showed how athletic and how talented he could be, but at the same time, if he gets, let's say he averages 5 points a week over the next 3, his value craters again. So I'm looking to sell high.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And if you've been sitting on him on a contender, this is what you're hoping for because you were never pressing the button on him. And in best ball outside of that week, which you already got the big spike week, outside of that week he didn't do shit for you. So to Matty's point, if you can make those pivots on a contender, it's a great call.
You guys are all welcome if you have Christian Watson that you can now get off of him because I traded him on Saturday. And then, of course, he goes off and blows up. So,
but what did you get though?
Don't worry, Mike. We hold on.
Trash,
Matty. We will. We can't. No, we can't spoil that because that will be aired on Saturday. So everybody that wants to see what Mike got for him, Saturday on the premiere.
Spoiler alert, though, so we can let people fucking get out there and do it. Another player I traded away in that same deal is Elijah Moore, so look for his ass to go off this. It's happening.
Elijah Moore is going to go have a meeting with Salah, with Wilson, air out all the bullshit, the 10 target games coming. Mike Steele's going to the floor. But Rhett says, what up, boys? Would you trade away Javonte for London?
Yes.
I would. I was waiting for Mike because I know I would. But
yes.
Listen, Javonte, I'm going to be honest, man. Javonte, with what I'm seeing with Dobbins, because Dobbins did that in the preseason, and Javonte did this in the season, and it's basically the same thing. Javante's a hold for me on a rebuild where I have him. But I'm honestly not actively buying him unless it's cheap. I'm not selling him cheap. But, if I can get London for him, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer there.
With Javonte, man, we kind of talked about it in the past where I don't know what you can get him for realistically now, like what you can pry him out of people's hands for. We've seen a lot of bailouts on the trade show with Javonte, like people
all
just
kinds.
Like
the name still carries that little bit of sexiness because you saw the pass catching work and all that shit.
I will say this: his value will go up from now until probably about July, August of next year, when the actual medical reports come in, where it's he's looking at a stint on the pump, he's not progressing, or whatever the case may be. But during that whole offseason time, the whole time where we're in the combine and the rookies and our heads are fucking down thinking about classes and rookies and all that stuff, subconsciously in startups, Javonte's a guy that people will keep bumping up the board because they feel like he's going to be back. So if you're buying for like a mid-second, maybe your early second right now, I would say that like it should make you feel a little bit uncomfortable because I don't feel good about it. But I will say there's going to be a point next year where you're getting a first and probably a first plus at some point. You just need to make sure that you capitalize on selling him at that time. So when I look, that's why I just hesitate a little bit when I look at the London, because London has a lot of shit going against him. No matter what people want to say, that quarterback situation is god-awful. Mariota's horrible, but they keep winning games and they keep pushing themselves out of the range of getting a difference-maker quarterback. And Arthur Smith, man, he's going to be holding on to his job with this fucking ground and pound, gross-ass offense, and we could be looking at the exact same shit next year for Drake London, and now you have 2 years of him just riding the struggle bus. So when I look at it, I go, yes, I think right now Drake London has more name appeal. There's still people more willing to buy in on a Drake London because he has 2 healthy knees, unlike Javonte, so yes, I would do it. But on the other side of it, I just want you to be aware, if you're savvy and you can get on it, there's going to be a point where people are going, Javonte's a running back. I think Russ is going to bounce back. This offense is going to be good. They get this hopes up about him starting the season and playing all year. There will be people who will trade a first and a second for Javonte Williams to go acquire him in May, June, probably July.
100%. In case anybody wants to know, it's Widow Jane. This is T-Rock at the Expo. Matty, myself, and Mike were all there together. He put me on with this, so I got a bottle, cracked it for Matty coming on in honor of the Expo. Us all first meeting. Cody Jett says 12 teams, Superflex, start 8. That's a very shallow starting lineup. I'm a contender at 8-1. Okay. Got an offer for Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, a late 23 first. This is okay. Jefferson 4. He's going to trade away Jefferson for Amon-Ra St. Brown, late 23 and a 24 first. No way I accept this, right? I'll say this start 8 moves the needle to the studs. Start 8 is fucking shallow. I don't even play in a start 8.
If you're 8-1, you don't move Justin Jefferson.
Oh man, here's the thing. I just talked about how tearing down and getting liquidity does kind of protect you, but there's also the exceptions, and for me, Jefferson's in the exception guy. Like he's probably the exception guy. I don't know. What do you think, Mike? Because here's the problem with start 8, right? It's a 12 team. So if this is 112, let's call it. Like 112, as nice as it is, unless you package that up, has no chance of starting in start 8. More often than not.
As much as I love Amon-Ra, man, and he still gets disrespected, he needs to be talked about in the top 12 wide receivers, period.
Agreed.
For sure.
Agreed.
Justin Jefferson's just on another level, man.
Yeah.
But there's also a value thing.
And Justin Jefferson doesn't play for the Lions.
That's true,
who are maddening at times. Absolutely maddening, and whose offense just goes stupid. As much as I want to be the tear down king and take fucking Jefferson or Amon-Ra in the 2 fucking first, I just can't do it in a start 8, man. I just can't get rid of Jefferson.
Let me make sure this is clear. Start 8, I'm not doing this. If we're talking a start even 10, a start 11, I'm probably going to take
tear
it.
Down.
I'll take
the tear
because
down.
there we're talking about Amon-Ra and Jefferson. Jefferson, sure, is going to score more points per game, but the big difference is his dynasty value is so crazy. In an 8 league, like you're going to have to pay up in a start 8 league for me to move off of Jefferson with his value currently. Matt, do you have any disagreements, or where are you at with that one?
I don't think I'm trading him even in a start 10 because my thought process here is you're 8-1, and if you lose because Amon-Ra has 16, where Justin Jefferson has 37, you're going to be pissed. And going into next year, a late 23 first sounds great, but it's only a couple of bad draft positions in the NFL draft away from being something that you're not psyched about. And then all of a sudden, J-Mo has hype. And you could see a situation where Amon-Ra goes from a consensus 12, which I think right now he's safely there. But as we get more information, maybe he creeps closer to top 20. And now you're looking to probably take Amon-Ra and those 2 picks and get a guy like Jefferson back. So I feel like at the end of the day, you're really just running in place. If Jefferson was 28, it's it's way obvious that it's a deal I'm looking to do. But
Yeah,
Jefferson is what, 24?
Sure, he's 23 actually, going to be 24.
23?
But Amon-Ra's also young, and here's the big thing, right? Now
I think he's older than Jefferson though, right? Isn't he 20? He's 24. He's like an older. I'll look this up.
I'll pull it. You pull it up. But what I wanted to get to here.
Oh, he's only 23. You're right. You're
Yeah.
the same age.
So here's the thing, right? The big thing is the weight value that Jefferson carries in dynasty value, and just having. I mean, he's going to be probably a top 5 starter pick next year, and that's insane. Yeah. But he's going to be. So this is the thing, right? You're talking about it from that lens, and I get that. But here's the thing: he's only had 2 30-point games in PPR, week 10 and week 1. He's had 7 points. He's had 2 points. He's had 13 and 12 points, right? So, like, the variance in the playoffs, it's not a guarantee that he smashes Amon-Ra in points per game in the playoffs.
That's true.
And here's the other thing. Now, his value won't cliff like Cooper Kupp's it will, but Jamar Chase missed 6 weeks. It's not out of the realm of possibilities for him to get hurt. If Amon-Ra gets hurt, you still have 2 firsts that you can move for a guy in your lineup and still salvage it. Justin Jefferson gets hurt. You can move him, but you're going to move him at a loss guaranteed. Amon-Ra, you don't even have to move. You can hold.
Yeah.
So that's
definitely a good way to look at it.
I'm not going to fight you because Jefferson is one of the craziest assets in value, but in start 8, I don't think there's a question. If I'm getting into higher starters, I could make the case, and I still would understand if you want to hold just because he's such a coveted asset, man.
Yep.
Let's see. What other questions we got? Also, just on the Jefferson thing, is there any, like, if Chase is healthy, do you think right now Jefferson's still the one, or is it closer for you guys?
Going into the season, I had Jefferson as my 1, and I don't think it would have been. I don't think Chase would have pushed him aside.
Okay.
But I do. I mean, the tier break would obviously be a hell of a lot closer. They may not even be 1, right, if he was healthy.
Yep.
But I had him going in at 1, and I don't like to move guys unless they give me a good reason to. And Jefferson's really had no any type of inkling of that.
They were tied for both of us, weren't they, Adam? Like, you had them
1A, 1B,
where it was like pick whoever you want, doesn't matter.
And I ain't arguing. If there's a guy from the Chase camp and they want him at the 1, I'm not going to push back all that crazy. I've seen what this kid can do, and if he was healthy, doing his thing, all these the weeks that he's been hurt, he's right there with Jefferson.
Here's the big thing that was like the tiebreaker for me, right? And this is why I ranked them together at the start of the season. Now the injury is like the tiebreaker where I'm willing to bump him down, but
right.
The bonus of Jamar Chase, like what I saw in him, where like if I was going to make an argument for him over Justin Jefferson, was how fucking explosive he was. Like that Kansas City game, like just housing pass after pass after pass, and you could do nothing with him. The downside of Jamar Chase, which brought him back to Justin Jefferson levels, was the fact that he has an elite receiver that he's also competing for big games on the other side. And this is more of how I feel about T. Higgins and how good T. Higgins actually is at the game of football, where I was like, there's always that thing. And when I look at Justin Jefferson, it's like old man Adam Thielen and a bunch of nobodies. And I feel pretty good about just trying Justin Jefferson out. But like that's why they were just tied. But then you factor in the injury for this season, and I'm like, you can see that separation just a little bit. Just a little bit. Jamar Chase is still fucking good, and there's nobody who should have him below number 2. If you have him below number 2, you're doing fantasy football, dynasty football wrong. But I will agree that injury does factor in. Like that's the only reason that there's even this tiny line of a tier break between Jefferson and Chase for me.
I think I can get behind pretty much anyone's answer on that one. I'm just curious what people think. Before we get to Tyler B's question, we got a guy in the startup. We did. Castle Black knows Matty Double Tap is in the house. Matty was on the corner, right? Matty was on the turn. Matty fucking Double Tap. Let's go, Castle Black.
We haven't heard that since that startup.
Dude, Matty Double Tap, baby. Let's go.
Matty Double Tap. I love it so much.
Castle Black, shout out, my man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's love right there, Matty. See, people don't forget. Matty's a memorable guy that you're not going to just – this is a guy we're going to have to keep getting back on, man. Tyler B says, I was also offered Miles Sanders straight for Bateman. If you don't like Cook, would you prefer that? I'm taking Miles Sanders for Bateman. I'm scared as fuck of Bateman's value, honestly.
Yes.
I'm scared as fuck.
Me too.
As a Bateman guy. Like, he was already propped up this year by big plays, and then the injury happens. So now it's injured in year 1, injured in year 2, kind of a name appeal, but no production.
2-part question there for Tyler, right? That was the second part. So he had one up there, and if you can't find it, I'll just read
I got it
off.
right here.
12.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Go ahead. Sorry.
12-team, half PPR Dynasty, start 10. He's competing. Should I trade Bateman and Dobbins for Dalvin Cook? I had Javonte and still have Gordon, but he ain't cutting it. And then the second part, I was also offered Miles Sanders straight for Bateman. Adam, which of these two would you rather do, man? Bateman and Dobbins for Dalvin or Miles Sanders straight up for Bateman and keep Dobbins?
Depends on how your outlook is on Dobbins. If you're someone that's a really big Dobbins truther and you want to hold and risk it and you want to take Sanders straight up, that's fine. I'll just say this. Sanders is a guy for me that's frustrating because, Mike, you saw it last night. Boston Scott's in there at the goal line in the first fucking drive when they're at the goal line. Why?
The motherfucker had 2 carries at halftime. Like, what are we doing?
That's the point.
The guy's been so good.
Okay, thank you. Because it's not a talent thing for me with Sanders, and it's not an age thing. It's not that I don't think he'll get another contract. There's all that uncertainty. But for me, if I can forego Dobbins and I can get Dalvin Cook, I'm doing that on a contender, man. I'm doing that. I'd rather do the top one, but I don't know what you guys say.
How'd they get back in that game, too, in the second half? By giving Miles Sanders the fucking football.
Is there any shock that 26 had something to do with it? I mean,
give him the rock.
It's the Nick Sirianni thing, Mike. We've done this on how many shows?
Yes.
We know, you know.
He had been good. He had been good from like week 6 onward, right? He'd been giving Miles the rock.
And I think
He'd
that
been handing him the football and getting him involved and just reaping the benefits of an explosive back like Miles Sanders. And then last night he was like, nah, fuck it.
But that's where, for me, the difference is huge because I can't predict that that's going to happen in the fantasy football playoffs.
Very true.
I can say that Dalvin Cook, unless he's hurt, is going to get the rock. Number 4 is a focal point. So that's my answer, but I don't know if you guys disagree or what you think.
I'm good. Miles Sanders is still a buy for me, but I definitely, I don't feel good about Bateman. I don't feel good about Dobbins. It's crazy that they're both on the same team, and I'm petrified of both of them. So just to get Dalvin Cook on a competing team, fuck yeah, I'd just go ahead. If somebody wants to offer me that up. I know it kind of feels like a buy high because Dalvin Cook finally went off, I guess. But he's gone off before. But officially, we saw the big, long, explosive run that we've all been waiting for with Dalvin Cook and just housing it. So I'm good with it. Dalvin Cook's still a really good running back. I also don't hate it, though, if that deal falls through and Miles Sanders straight up for Bateman's the best I could do, and then maybe find a Dobbins. Somebody to give me Jacoby Myers for Dobbins or some shit like that.
I'm good with either, but I prefer the Dalvin Cook side. Matty, real quick, what do you think, buddy?
I mean, I'm just going to echo what you guys have said. I think this is a great opportunity for you, Tyler, because I think either scenario you come out on top.
Right.
I think there's no way I'm putting Dobbins. He's not going to be the barrier to getting a guy like Cook. And if that guy wants to bail out, then you just get Sanders, and I'm totally okay with that. Bateman, the thing I'm a little more nervous about Bateman, and Adam, you touched upon this, the 2 years of injury, and the Baltimore Ravens now are caught with their dick in their hands.
Yeah.
They got nothing for Lamar. So what tends to happen with these teams when they fuck up, they overcorrect. I could absolutely see them using a 1st-round pick on a receiver and a 4th-round pick on a receiver, spending some money on a receiver or whatever the case may be. And now all of a sudden you're looking at Bateman having to not only get healthy, but compete for touches. And do I think he's talented enough to get back? Of course. So I'm not saying he's completely gonzo, but let's not act like this guy's a surefire hit next year. So if you can get a guy that's going to help you win, like a Sanders or a Dalvin, you got to do it now.
Yeah,
Adam, let me say this on Bateman too. Real quick.
T-Rock's in the building, so I wanted to make sure if you hadn't seen, I got the Widow J and I cracked it for you, buddy. Go ahead.
I will say this on Bateman.
You gotta fly out to Massachusetts and cook them carnitas, my boy.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Jay's here. What's up?
They're still fire, man. I still think about
so
them every
good.
night before I go to
all
bed.
the time. I compare every meal to those carnitas. T-Rock.
I'm already low key hungry. Let's not do that because I need to focus. I don't need to think about food. Right
Adam, let's look at a couple guys.
Let's take a sip.
We got Rashad Bateman on one side. And Rashad Bateman has just had moments, right? He hasn't had a season. He's just had some moments.
Correct.
And we like the talent coming out. Brandon Ayuk last year and the year before. Brandon Ayuk had a season, and then he got put in the doghouse. Mm-hmm. And this is coming off the back of him being almost universally accepted as a top 15 dynasty wide receiver in a lot of people's minds. He got put in the doghouse, and he has never recovered from that to the level of being a top 15 receiver. He's still madly disrespected and still a guy that I want on my team. But this is best case scenario for a guy like Rashad Bateman. And this is a guy who didn't have injuries and got put in the doghouse. Rashad Bateman has serious fucking injuries for a wide receiver.
Well,
like a foot injury is a big deal that causes you to miss the entire season.
He came back and then he re-injured it and now he's out for the year. This is a guy that has had little bits of injury history. And then I think the big point too, I think you were kind of making this, but let me just finish it here. Is this. Bateman, man, when you think about next year, Keep Trade Cut has him today at wide receiver 36. And you know what Keep Trade Cut does not have when you look at wide receivers? Jordan Addison. It doesn't have any of the allure. There's going to be 5 to 8 guys in the 23 class that probably are valued ahead of him or at least even. So this is a guy that could be in the 40 range, honestly. Yeah. Like, I'm moving Bateman if I can for Miles Sanders, absolutely. I'll be honest, I have not been able to move a lot of my Bateman for jack shit. Now, granted, I play in a lot of best ball, so people are less willing to take a shot on a guy that's going to give them a 0 than in a lineup league. But I have not been able to move Bateman for a fucking thing, and I'm scared as hell about his value in the future.
And it's you and I, man. We get the Jag treatment, right? Anytime I send Jag a deal, it's just an instant decline. Doesn't matter what it's for.
What is
send
Mike
him a first for his 4th round pick. He'd still decline it.
What's Mike trying to do? He knows this 1st round pick's going to be hurt. I can't take this pick. on my rebuilder, I have Chase and a lot of picks. I want to grab another young wideout to go with Chase to build around. Other than Waddle, who do you think? I have London, JMO 2. There is no chance in the world I'm moving Chase on a rebuilder. None.
No. Not that. He wants to grab another wide receiver.
Oh, he has a lot of got picks. It. I misread it. My bad, Shane.
I am pushing none of these picks in at this time to get another wide receiver, right? You assume all the risk of whoever the hell you take. Poor play, injury, suspension. Maybe they like parlays like Calvin Ridley and they want to get suspended for an entire year. I do want none of that risk. I'm keeping the draft picks because those can't get suspended. They can't get injured unless it is a crazy good deal. Like it needs to be on a crazy good deal. But I'm not paying up for Garrett Wilson. I'm not paying up for Chris Olave. Like nobody's letting you get a discount on any of these guys. Even George Pickens, right? I'm not doing it.
2 big things here. And Matty, I want to get your take too. On a rebuild here, especially you said you have a lot of picks, so that means you have leverage. So not only are these picks accruing value, them being tied together for you, every time you weave them together, that's more value. It's not just one pick. 1 pick and 2 picks is weaved together, and you go all the way across. Now that tangle is long, and I'm not moving those right now because they're not done accruing value. It's similar to the thing with Chase. Chase is only going to accrue value as he gets healthy. And the only way that that's not going to happen is if he does a Calvin Ridley or he fucking gets in a tragic car accident or something. He's only going to accrue value. So I'm not moving any of these on a rebuild. But, Matty, I'm curious your thoughts too.
I think in a rebuild, I think Mike hit the nail on the head. The picks are just kind of fun coupons. So I think you hold on because you don't know what could happen with any of these guys.
Absolutely.
I said it from the movie the same way in my head when you just said it. Like that's
what I was thinking. Now, I think what a better approach, not a better approach, Shane, but an approach that's worth taking if you're trying to go like keep your big value picks, but see if you can, move a slide deal to get a Pittman or a DJ Moore, where you're not moving your pick capital, but you're accruing guys over the long term that their value may go up. We've seen, like, we all like the talent, but like you said, paying up for a Garrett Wilson, even a Treylon's done dick, and you're not getting him at a discount. So I wouldn't trade any of these things because you go into your next year's draft with all these picks. All of a sudden, people are coming to you because at the end of the day, people want to participate in their rookie draft. So they're not going to come. You can make all these trades now, and in the offseason, someone pops an Achilles. And now you got nothing. But these picks, no matter what happens to the players coming in, the picks are still the picks. And you can maneuver at your draft. So I would look to make kind of low-key trades. These guys whose seen their values go way, way down, buy super low, see what happens at the draft. All of a sudden, DJ Moore gets linked with a stud quarterback, whether he gets traded or they bring one in. We've seen it before. His value skyrockets. Now you're like, oh, I got these picks, because we all know this is a running back draft.
Oh yeah,
so
23.
I'm not looking. And all of a sudden, we all know that running backs come. People salivate for running backs for a good reason. So I don't think I'm looking to trade any of your high end picks, or even any of your picks in general, in a rebuild, because, like Mike said, you just don't know exactly what you're going to be dealing with come week 1 of 2023.
Matty's spot fucking on. Love that analysis by Matty Kiwoom.
Oh, thank you.
And Shane, Mike, I don't think I'm doing this. I don't want to sell light on Burks right now. I'm fine moving Montgomery, but I'm hard pressed to move Burks because I feel like he's at a value dip too.
After the Khalil Herbert news too, like, I'll give you Monty for Javonte, and if it takes like a little bit of something,
a non value depressed piece like Burks that's youthful. Like I'll give you like Pierce. I'll give you Pierce. I'm not doing that for fucking Burks.
Yeah. Or I'm going like, yeah, you buy into the Paris Campbell shit, take him. You buy into the
Devin Duvernay.
You buy into Devin Duvernay.
Yep.
Go ahead. Like, I'm willing to go to Javonte for that, but it's not for Treylon. I'm not doing it straight up for fucking
What about
Treylon.
Pierce? Alec Pierce.
No.
Would you do it?
I kind of like Pierce, but I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be like. You know what I mean? Like, on a
Just
rebuilder,
won another
I'm
game. They love this Band-Aid thing.
Oh, I mean, Jeff Saturday's a leader of men.
Watch them rattle off another 3 or 4, and they're out of the quarterback discussion. They're looking at the next Matty Ryan. You know,
somebody's trying to get off of fucking Javonte, and I'm not gonna lie, man. Monty's nothing special, but no Khalil Herbert. I'm looking at Monty going like, well, at least I know who's getting the fucking touches the rest of the year, and at the running back position, I could do a lot worse.
You know what's funny? When he was not valued very highly 2 years ago, you know who won people fantasy football championships?
Right.
David Montgomery, and he's looked for that same role on an offense that might run the ball better than it ever has been with Fields.
Mm-hmm.
The best way I can evaluate it is if I'm looking on the other side. Like, I'm a contender and I have Javonte and I'm trying to make a playoff push. If Monty's the best I can fucking do, I'm being completely honest with you, I probably just push the button and I go like, all right, fine. I don't like it, but give me fucking David Montgomery because at least he's playing.
Completely agree. If I'm trying to compete, I think Javonte. I think I'd be willing to move a Javonte for Montgomery if I'm in a pinch for running back and I'm competing. So I don't think you have to give up a guy like Burks.
I'm totally with you. I'm going to let Matty head this one, man. Lance or Pickett? John Gordon. We don't see John Gordon in here often. We appreciate you coming in, buddy. This is a great question the guy dropped here. Lance or Pickett on a rebuild?
Give me Lance. Pickett has small hands. It seems to be a metric that's just never. It's undefeated. It's undefeated. His ceiling is Ryan Tannehill. That's fine. Give me Lance. I mean, Pickett, whatever.
Joey Burr's got small hands. He seems to be doing.
It's not as small as Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett wears gloves.
Didn't Jared Goff have small hands too?
He does, yeah, but not as small as Pickett.
No,
Pickett has the same hands as me. I'm a 5'10" abrasive salesman during the day.
Pickett has the double joint. He's got the double jointed thumbs. Come on. The Burger King commercial, right? Where are you at, Mike? Pickett or Lance?
Kenny Pickett has done enough. Like, it hasn't been sexy, but he's made some plays. The offense has looked decent at times with Kenny Pickett. The allure of Lance, when healthy, is always going to be greater, though.
I'm with
the dynasty value of Lance is going to be more.
Let me say this.
That's probably the better way to say it, not what I said, but that's a way better way to say it. Like,
and I totally agree. I'm still willing to say Lance and risk it. But let me just say some things that I've been hearing a lot of that do worry me enough to where is the value going to be there? This allure. So there's all this talk. Frisco's built for the playoffs. You know, they're. If this team makes a real serious push next year, or not next year, this playoffs, if they make a push, what if they fuck around and get to the Super Bowl? NFC seems pretty wide open, unless the Eagles are going to be for real. But they better stay healthy, man. I don't like seeing Goddard hurt. I don't like seeing AJ Brown hurt. They had some issues with other injuries. I mean, attrition's anybody. But like, let's say they went to the NFC Championship or they go to the Super Bowl. Like, is there a talk of controversy because of how much they've seen Jimmy G win, even though I think he's not the right answer at all? Like, does that depreciate the value of Lance for anybody?
A little bit. a little bit. It's interesting too. Like I had to see where keep trade cut was at with this guy, and I pulled up and I get
they're right next to each other.
I scroll down and I see Trey Lance at 13, and I go, Jesus Christ, that's aggressive as fuck. And then the guy right behind him is Kenny Pickett. But the difference is Lance is gaining value without actually playing football, and Kenny Pickett is actually slowly starting to piss away
value. Correct. And there still is.
This is one guy who's not even healthy. Like we ain't even talking about the guy back on the field or making a mini camp throw or anything like this where somebody goes, holy shit, he's back or whatever the case may be. So that's why I say Trey Lance carries the better dynasty value. So even if you don't like either one of these guys, like I'm just going like, who the fuck, next May, next April, June, July, whatever is going to pay me more? They're going to pay you more for Trey Lance, more than likely.
It's Trey Lance, and I always got to be a cuck and present the other side. But I just want to bring that to your attention because if you have this allured asset that isn't played, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, man, Jimmy's our guy. Like your whole allure thing got thrown off. Not saying that Lance won't get a starting job somewhere, but that would really put a wrench in things. So interesting to talk about that. I think it's still Lance though. Okay, so yo fellas, what would you add to Tua to target Herbert in any general 12-team Superflex? Loving the Tua breakdown, but wasn't long ago people thought he was retiring, LOL. Seems like a good sell high time. Convoluted question, a lot going on here. Matty, you know what? We all know, Ridley Truther's not asking us. We have a video. We talk weekly about Tua. He's asking Matty Kiwoom about this stuff. So let's talk to Matty Kiwoom about this.
I mean, this in a vacuum, if I was starting a Madden team, Ridley Truther, I would rather have Herbert. But what we're seeing is, no matter how talented a player is, when you're chucking the rock to DeAndre Carter, the middest of receivers, Josh Palmer, and some person named, is it Michael Bandy? John Bandy? I don't know. You struggle. So if you are at all contending this year, there's no way I'm moving Tua for Herbert. Now, if you could magically snap your fingers, you have the infinity gauntlet that Thanos once donned, and you can switch Herbert and Tua and put Tua on the Chargers and Herbert on the Dolphins. Yeah, obviously. But right now, I mean, the Chargers have a lot of work to do right by Herbert, and I don't want any piece of that offense other than Eckler right now.
So here's my thing. I think that's pretty well said, Matty, because here's the thing, right? It's funny because these two were drafted in the same class, right?
Like and 2 picks behind each other. Whatever.
They're back-to-back picks, actually.
Back-to-back picks, yeah.
Yeah. Miami took two ahead of those guys. So here's what's crazy, right? If you think about this, like if I take the jersey off and I just say what I know about the person today, period. I want Justin Herbert's better scrambler. He's got a bigger arm. I want Justin Herbert in a vacuum.
Oh, yeah.
But you bring the situation into it, and what's funny is because this was inverse, right? Justin Herbert, because of the Tyrod Taylor lung puncture, goes in and he's throwing to Herbert. He's throwing to a better offense. He's got Eckler, right? Mm-hmm. Not saying that he's still not the better prospect, but he's in a better situation early, and his value catapulted up because of it. Tua was in a situation where he likes to throw to guys that are open. He's throwing to Preston Williams. He's throwing to Devontae Parker that don't separate. And then he gets hurt again. So his value is going the wrong way. We're seeing them come very close in value here, honestly. Like Keep Trade Cut has these guys 2 players apart in the quarterback rankings. This is the other big piece of this. It's unlikely that Herbert gains value this season. You're betting on the long term with him. Tua, I don't even know, is for sure done gaining value this year. They're playing well. The receivers are open. Tua is showing a ceiling that nobody believed existed. So here's the only thing I would say if I'm adding is that it better not be much, because you don't even know that at the end of this year that these guys aren't going back-to-back in startups where Herbert's still ahead, but it's close. So I don't know if I want to pay for that today.
It's crazy they went back-to-back in the actual draft, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
We were having this conversation
that was the COVID
years
draft.
ago.
That was the COVID draft. Nobody traded. Remember, everybody stayed put.
Yep. I will say this. I still want Justin Herbert over Tua. Now,
Agree. I agree too. By the way, I agree.
If I'm on a contender, I am adding you absolutely nothing to get your Justin Herbert. Period. Because of what
would
Matty
you
said.
go to Herbert on a contender and forego winning now potentially with Tua and just take Herbert risk?
Herbert is still fucking really good at football, and
Agreed.
even with shitty weapons, still can make it work at times. So,
but what about on the contending side? Is that a risk for you?
On the contending side, what I'm saying is, like, I'm okay trotting out either one of these every single fucking week as my QB1.
Got it.
But if I have Tua and somebody's like, I want Tua, I'll offer you, what will you give me for Justin Herbert? I'll give you Tua. And that's it.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you add a third? No, fuck you. Tua's playing better. I feel better about the weapons. Now, on a rebuilder, if I'm having this more long-term outlook, like, if it takes a second, as long as it's not an early second, like, I'm cool with that. Like, I still want Herbert that much more than Tua, but it isn't. There's no way in fuck I'm sending a first. No way in hell. You pry it out of my cold, dead hands. I'm just going to take my Tua and be completely happy.
I want the other side of that deal. I want the first and Tua in that deal, honestly.
Oh, for sure. There's no question about it.
So that's the thing. I think I still like Herbert long term. I think if they get him new weapons, he's right back in the mix of the top 3, 4, or whatever. But like, I just right now, given the situation, I don't really want to add much. Even though I do still want Herbert long term. Liam is flexing because Liam, we appreciate you stopping by. Your questions, your flexes are always welcome. But this is not a discussion. I mean,
it's not.
D'Onta Foreman is a short-term filling running back.
Yep.
Nice story with the Achilles injury. Love seeing what I'm seeing out of him, right? A piece on a contender that is worth something. Josh Palmer, because of all the stuff we just talked about with Justin Herbert, is getting crazy volume. But it's fucking Chris Godwin. And we disrespected him because of the injury, but we knew that still long-term he's okay. This is a slam on Godwin.
Whoa. Did we disrespect him, or did we be people the cold, hard fucking truth about Chris Godwin?
The reason I say it that way is because people may look on this channel and see us talking negatively about Godwin. So I'm being a little bit bold there, but I don't think we disrespected him. My only point is if you see us talking negative about Godwin in the preseason, it was because of the injury. It's not saying anything bad about the asset long-term of Chris Godwin. So let me rephrase so that it doesn't bother
What has Chris Godwin done since the start of the year, or since we started?
He had an injury relapse again, right? And then he's come around since.
Even pull up key trade cut. Where has that gone? Just slowly down in value as people realize that this is probably it for Tom Brady.
Well, that's the other thing. Tom Brady has not helped him at all. Hurt him.
This is done. And what was the other thing? You had all those weeks of him scoring 0. Everybody was excited that he got back on the field so far, and then he got immediately hurt. And these were the things we told everybody. Don't rely on him. If you got a contender, you really like Chris Godwin, that's fine. Like, I don't mind Chris Godwin. I will take Chris Godwin.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I wasn't paying, wide receiver 12 prices for Chris Godwin in May when I knew the fucking guy wasn't going to play for the first 6 weeks.
And to our point, Keep Trade Cut has Devontae Smith ahead of Chris Godwin on value right now, and that was hot takey in the summer. But Matty, can you just tell this guy that because we're arguing about the Godwin discussion, but this trade is what, Matty?
This is a clear cut dub. This is you rub it in your rest of your league mates dub. I mean, you're coming on the best AMA show in the known universe, and you're just flexing. That's cool. Humble brag, baby. You do your thing.
Hey, listen. If you don't know that, you should know that now because that is a easy dub. Shane Joe, our guy, is telling him that that's an easy dub. All right, Dynasty Alex always wants to give us a tough question late. Listen, we probably are not going to be. We aren't going to be able to get all these questions, but let's try to go rapid fire here and see how many we can get through in the next maybe 5 to 10 minutes or so. Debbie talk. Let's get some Debbie talk in this bitch. Everybody and their mama has been after Marvin Harrison Jr. share. Where would he go in a startup right now? Debbie startup. And where will he come back actual time to draft?
Quick
Tough
answer.
Question.
Way too fucking high.
Agreed. I do think, though, he's showing special, but I do think that it's getting probably to peak or peak plus. So
I have 2 words for you when you think about Marvin Harrison and what you would pay for him right now. That should scare the shit out of you. Keyshawn Boutte.
Yep.
Period.
Just because
even
of
his
time.
teammate,
Just
even Jackson.
Yeah. Well,
this time last year, Jackson was, and people aren't happy right now.
Well, you know what's funny is I just talked to my brother-in-law, who we're both big Bucs fans, and this time last year, actually, it was a little later, right? In the bowl game, especially, people are saying Jackson Smith and Jigba is the best receiver out of the whole slew, right? Better than Olave, better than Wilson, better than anything coming up behind, whether it's Ibuka or fucking Marvin Harrison Jr. And guess what? Injuries happen, and there's a time gap. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is special, man. But I think that he is getting to the point where, as an Ohio State guy that loves what I'm seeing, in Devy, I'm probably exploring getting points on my teams because he's going too high.
Let's say this, Adam. If you had to put a rank on it, like I'll just give you a number. With the current wide receivers and a startup right now, you're on the board. If I told you wide receiver 30, too high, too low?
In Devy, across the whole landscape?
If you did a startup right now, doesn't matter. You draft
30?
this fucking guy in the startup. Regular startup.
Well, Gabriel Davis is 29, so I want him over Gabriel Davis.
Okay.
But I also don't want him ahead of Amari Cooper.
Okay.
It's probably about right, but I probably would not be drafting him in that range.
People are going to take him way higher than that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's if he's 30. I bet you he's probably, you know what? We just talked about how criminally undervalued Christian Kirk is. That's the thumbnail. I bet you Marvin Harrison Jr. goes ahead of Christian Kirk in a startup.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yep.
Criminally undervalued.
He definitely goes ahead of J-Mo, George Pickens, Smitty, Pittman, Chris Godwin, who we just talked about.
Does he go ahead of Sky Moore, the chosen Kansas City Chief?
Is he still
Sky
alive?
Moore.
I wanted to make sure that I brought that for T-Rock, who's on our question here, because he loved him some Sky Moore. Question for the AMA panel: is waiting until the rest of my league gets as fucked as me with injuries a viable strategy? In one league, I lost both Ertz and Dallas Goedert. Another league, he lost Ertz and Kupp. No, I mean, it's still variance.
Not in week 10.
No, injuries are going to come, but you can't predict that they're going to be on that guy's roster.
Here's a good strategy too, because I just watched him lose Cooper Kupp in an auction league where his team was very shallow to begin with. When we told him, don't draft a shallow team in a fucking best ball auction league because it's a bad choice. What happens when one of these dudes goes down? Your team's fucked. And guess where he's at? His team's fucked. Maybe you should have listened, T-Rock. T-Rock. Talking to you, buddy.
Man, T-Rock, it
Stick
seems
to
like...
carnitas, T-Rock.
Oh.
I still love him, man.
T-Rock, you're our guy, but man, it's time. It's always time for him to get clowned. We got George Cook in the building. Please help. All right, because you said please, and we got to get out of here, I'm going to make Mike and Matty stay. Single quarterback league, and I have Burrow and Fields. Do I trade A.J. Brown and Dameon Pierce for CMC and CeeDee Lamb? So is the Burrow and Fields is just irrelevant then?
It's just a flex.
Is it? Okay. All right. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss something there. All right. A.J. Brown and Dameon Pierce for CMC and CeeDee Lamb on a contender and one quarterback. What do you think?
Does he trade Fields, A.J. Brown, and Dameon Pierce?
I didn't see the Fields part. Got it.
It was other quarterback. It's still going to be.
It was lowercase, and I got you. All right.
I get you, man. Fields, A.J. Brown,
see, that's why I have Mike on here.
CMC and CeeDee Lamb.
I was with you, Adam. I completely spaced out the Fields part of it.
See, Mike's the guy that puts the spreadsheets together. He's the smart one of the bunch. Look, he's reading this right.
Dots the I's, crosses the T's. That's why you guys are a great team.
I will say no. Depending on lineup size, right? I need to know lineup size, George, like how big it is.
I want Dameon Pierce and I want CMC and CeeDee Lamb over A.J. Brown and Dameon Pierce for sure. Mm-hmm. But Justin Fields could be quarterback one. He's quarterback one for me right now in just contending side, and he might be quarterback one the rest of the way. So I don't know. I don't know if
Burrow.
What's that?
I think I'd rather do this with Burrow in the trade.
I would too.
Either way, man, I've come around to Scott's talked about it a lot on his show as well. One QB league in quarterbacks, you and I have been of the mindset fuck, it's just one QB, nobody gives a shit.
Agreed.
But the fact that you have two high warp quarterbacks at a position, we should pay more attention to those elite guys because of the advantage they give you over the rest of the shitters in the league.
Okay.
Like,
agreed.
I
let me say
know
this:
you have this surplus. Like, I want a diamond hands that. And at the worst case, man, you're keeping Fields off of somebody else's team that's competing against you.
That's fair.
well, so I agree with that point, but I will say this though: in one quarterback, single quarterback, what I really, really, really want is the Konami code, because those are the ones that matter. And if I'm gonna move one, it's gonna be Burrow. Honestly, like it's just
Okay.
Now, to Mike's point, if you're going to substitute Burrow and you're going to go Burrow, A.J. Brown, Dameon Pierce, like I'll get C.D. Lamb and I'll get CMC, but I want something else coming back. I'm with Mike on that. Mm-hmm. I'll add that to the deal. I'll give you Burrow, but I'm not moving Fields because I think Fields is too much of a cheat code in this format. But I need something coming back on that CMC, C.D. Lamb side. Otherwise, I'm going to stay put.
There we go.
So there you go. Please help. I hope that helped out some. Tunchi. What are you guys doing with Devontae Smith on a contender, assuming AJ is fine? I'm holding regardless. I mean, unless I can trade him for a very big value gain off of the AJ Brown news, I'm just holding. Any disagreement from you guys?
No, I just like to say it is an honor, Weezy, that you've tuned into the show.
Please say the baby.
Yeah.
We got 14 team. Man, we got so many questions. All right, I'm gonna limit it to like 3 more questions, and we got a ride. 14 team, start 9 tight end premium, mid 23, 105, 108, and McBride for Lance. I'm probably cool.
Nope. Hard pass.
No bueno.
No, thank you.
The fact that it could be 105, I'm good, personally.
Yeah. I mean, you're tapping into some talent at 105 in this draft.
Especially at 105, like the way I've seen mocks go, I got either my top wide receiver, Gibbs or Bijan, or the 2 quarterbacks we know for sure, in Bryce and CJ. So I'm passing on that. Let's see. Yeah, I got the Widow Jane. All right, we got 3 questions left. I'm going to try to get to some good ones. All right. Marlon. I was offered Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, a late 23 first for Amon-Ra St. Brown in a Dynasty lineup league. I'm the 1 seed. I almost took it, but DJ M and Allen worry me rest of the season. I think I'm actually with him.
I hate trading DJ Moore. He's my guy. You're the 1 seed, and you can acquire St. Brown for what?
He has Amon-Ra, I think, in this one, right?
He has Amon-Ra.
Oh, he's getting the. No, I'm not doing it then. No.
I agree with Matty. Mike, are you different?
I want the package.
Really?
I want the package.
You would want the package.
Amon-Ra's a stud, but I still love DJ Moore too much. You put in a late first. I think about all the things I can do with that, and Keenan Allen's just if he comes back and he's Keenan Allen, great. If he doesn't, I don't give a shit.
Marlon, because I think I know the answer to this. Marlon, this is 1 quarterback, isn't it? Now, if this is 1 quarterback, does it change it?
If it's 1 QB, yeah, fuck them late 23 first.
All right, I agree. I agree. And I was actually kind of answering it on that, and I know Marlon's in the 1 quarterback league. So Marlon, if you could drop that in the comments, let us know if it's 1 quarterback or Superflex. If it is Superflex, I still think I want Amon-Ra, but I totally could get on board with Mike there. Let's see. Man, we got so many questions. I feel bad, but we're out of time, guys. So I got 2 more for y'all. Let's see. I want to make sure.
So what happens? You get a chatty Cathy on with you guys.
Hey,
we're just gonna run along, baby.
Listen. I don't know if you saw the comments on our last one. This is a hit and a half.
All right.
I'm pushing my luck, asking for another Q, but I have Lance on IR and 1 quarterback. What kind of draft capital would you add to it to get Deshaun Watson? I would add draft capital to it.
I'd love to do my late first if I had one laying around.
Yeah,
fully agree. That's
easily.
I'm with you.
That's the sweet spot.
No questions
and
asked.
I don't think I'm going much higher though, right? What if it's a opposite league mates mid first?
Possibly.
I'd still think about it. Deshaun has a chance to be an absolute disruptor when he comes back.
I fully fucking agree. God damn it, that's too much agreeing.
Mind meld.
Mind meld is so real, right?
We're the 3 best friends that anyone's ever had.
This is not going to count as one of the questions. Oh, but did I miss Monday Night Football recap?
Man, this motherfucker in here just trying to make me mad. Jerry, I know what you're trying to do. You already saw my fucking rant in the league chat. Fuck Washington. Fuck those refs. They fucking hosed us. I hate Washington. I hope they take your fucking team away and make you play soccer.
Wow. Well, that's not a question, but that's a hell of an ending by Michael.
Boom.
All right, this is it. Last question. This is it. Stephen White. This is the show. Sup, boys? I got a guy who's been trying to get my Justin Fields. He's got no first-round picks to give, but has Justin Jefferson. What do you think a Fields for Jefferson would look like?
As crazy as this sounds, man, I only do this shit straight up.
No, I'm fully agree. And here's what I'll say. If I have the quarterback depth, oh my God, I hate trading Fields, but I think I would do this.
I would do it.
Dude, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest. What's crazy about this one, it's so hard because right now, Justin Fields, I'm telling you right now, is going to win leagues. Not saying Justin Jefferson is not going to help win leagues, but like just think about it this way. Where you took Justin Fields and where you took Justin Jefferson, they're so different. Justin Jefferson's been an elite asset from the whole season. Justin Fields, especially in the offseason when you drafted him, and even further so after like week 4, you bought him for nothing. He is going to win leagues. So for me, it's really, if I have enough quarterbacks, if I have 2 legit quarterbacks, even if one is like not the sexiest, I would do this because Justin Jefferson's value is just ridiculous, man. So, yeah. Mike,
It's still Superflex leagues. Quarterbacks still run the fucking world, and if you ain't got quarterbacks who are producing, I don't give a shit how many Justin Jeffersons and Jamar Chases on you. If you're starting Ryan fucking Tannehill or Taylor Heineke, you hate your fucking life, and you would trade Justin Jefferson in a heartbeat for a guy like Justin Fields. So if I'm on it, I got the quarterback depth. I can afford to lose Justin Fields. Like I have a couple other quarterbacks I feel really good about. You give me Justin Jefferson straight up, we got a deal. You make me add anything, fuck out of here. Good luck with your shit.
You can fuck off. Hey, speaking of fucking off, T-Rock says, Mike, you don't say shit about his Cooper Kupp and his team. So T-Rock, we appreciate you guys. Brandon hopped in the building. You're going to be seeing some more of Brandon. I'm not going to spoil nothing, but you'll be seeing some more Brandon here pretty soon. Matty, appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Matty Kiwoom, ladies and gentlemen, somebody you need to stay tapped into. He's on the player profiler page right now, but I'm going to pass it to Matty here. Anything you want to plug before we get up out of here, buddy?
For sure. So make sure you shoot me a follow on Twitter. I'm at Matty Kiwoom. I got the game plan coming out every Saturday afternoon on Player Profiler. We just started a trade show over there with me and my man Jason Allwine. We're doing some cool things over at Player Profile. I'm very excited, but thank you guys so much for having me on. You're just some of my favorites in the space and some of my favorite people on planet Earth, period. So thanks a lot.
Listen, man, I listen to the game plan every time it's on, and I'll say this from seeing him in person and being with him in person, the game plan in life and the game plan in Player Profile, it's all melded, man. He's got the game plan. Make sure you're tapped in. Take notes. Bring your notepad, like he says, because guess what? You're going to want them fucking notes because it's going to help you win. We are out of this thing. Peace.